Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. A very good morning to everyone. I want to see, is everyone awake this morning? Must we do some exercise? So are you ready for this exciting day waiting for us? I want to remain on the established protocols of yesterday. Allow me, however, to welcome back our head of delegation, Madame Liesel van der Ast. Thank you so much for your keynote yesterday. I also want to welcome Davina, who joined us only late yesterday from the African Development Bank, and she's been very instrumental in many of our initiatives that we have been doing as insurance sector, and a specific focus on climate and agricultural sector. So from yesterday, it's very clear that there was one common denominator, and that is the importance of collaboration. And it's important to mention that this is key part of delivering SDG 17. And I think this is also a key component to see how we can bring in SDGs into our day-to-day activities as corporate community. It is evident that the Namibian government is supporting the sustainable finance initiatives by having had representation from our Deputy Minister of Finance yesterday, as well as our Right Honourable Prime Minister, represented by Special Advisor Ms. Nangula Bago. Our Prime Minister, in her keynote address, emphasized that sustainability must not be an afterthought. However, must be part of our policies and laws and regulations. And as such, it must be part of our corporate strategies and how we conduct our day-to-day business. It is very evident that we don't have a planet B. We have only one option. And it will also come through when I'm going through to state where many of the speakers have emphasized that we don't have time anymore. We have run out of time. I think 5 years ago, when we were standing here, we could say 2030 is still quite far. And as we speak, many of you, 2030 is around the corner. It's just a few, if we start counting it in days, it's even maybe going to give us less than 1,000 days. So that shows us that we don't have time to waste. We have to go and get into action mode immediately. And it's actually encouraging to hear many of you asking what will happen when we leave this room after Friday. I'm also very confident that this Namibian UNEP-FI MENA Region Roundtable will be remembered as a starting point of many such African collaborations and future development of our sustainable finance in Africa. And it was actually very encouraging to hear from the participants saying, wow, it is so good to hear the African voice, to hear the African situations on the ground, and to hear what Africans are doing to find African solutions for our African problems. This is also our start of our African journey to the implementation COP28. It's been mentioned that it will be the implementation COP. So we want to see action. I'm sure when it was very exciting for myself to be there last year, and we have listened, we have put our proposals on the table. We want loss and damage fund. We want this. We've gotten it now. So it's time for Africa to show how we can put it in action mode. So please be involved. Make sure that Africa is represented. And we've had a session specifically focusing on the road to COP, and it was very exciting to listen to all the speakers there. And I think the message yesterday came out very clear that action speaks louder than words. So let's get in action mode. If you work out of here. You can put a little bit of a work faster. It can also, it's already action. So Liesl said global emissions are at an all-time high. In a keynote yesterday, she said that sustainable finance will be key in any future development of our Africa and MENA region, and that we can share our experiences and collaborate. And the roundtables are an initiative to enhance that and to make it possible. So, and it was very encouraging to learn and to listen as to how other countries has advanced and how we, other African countries, can learn from each other. Liesl also clearly mentioned how important climate, nature, biodiversity are all key for our future, especially as business community, government, and SMEs, and all the parties, that we all have to collaborate and work together for a common goal. Philip of ICI Lion stressed that NDSI collaboration will make real change in an enabling resilience for otherwise uninsurable communities. Butch said that Africa has its own initiative. The NDSI means Africa, and that means that NDSI Africa are writing their own risk. And that was referring to the facility that was created that will service where we want to write premiums of 14 billion and service 1.4 billion Africans by the year 2030. That's cumulative. So that is going to happen, and it has already started, and we're very excited about that future of how the insurance sector will play a critical role and very important role in development of our own communities. The financial sector need to include in its financial decisions, let me just quickly go one line up, a very important component of what was said by Butch is that we cannot forget also to mention another important aspect that was dealt with yesterday, and that is what was then said by Dorothy yesterday, and that is that we cannot separate nature from climate, and they are all interconnected. So once again, coming through from the point of collaboration. I mean, how many of you sitting around here, how many of you do consider nature when you're doing your strategic plan? Hopefully, we can get some hands up. If not, when we're doing our next strategy sessions, please make sure that you include the impacts of our decisions on nature. The financial sector need to include financing decision in nature, and as well as its impacts that it's having on the climate. Dorothy also mentioned that in the next few months, exciting developments on the nature scene are happening. So all I can say there, from knowing her, watch that space. Make sure you follow her on LinkedIn. I've observed various solutions being shared, varying from the banking sector, and I was very much fascinated by what Egypt has done. Thank you very much for sharing with us that over 36 banks, and 75% of those 36 banks are complying to the regulations that has been put there in order to comply with ESG rules and a sustainable financing sector. Thank you so much for setting that pace. I think make sure that you get to have a talk with our colleague from Egypt. It is very fascinating. And I think all of us can learn from it. And what I've observed yesterday is that Bank of Namibia surely said that they will make that connection. So Namibia, I'm sure we will show you soon what will come out of it, that we will be having our regulations also soon up and running. And I think that also brings out clearly how important the regulator, the role the regulator is playing in all of this. And we need to make sure that we walk the road together. Everyone I also wanted to add there that Nigeria and South Africa, the three of, including Egypt, those are our three biggest business communities in terms of the sectors and in terms of GDP. So if we take those three, they have really set the example, especially on the banking scene. So let us, the rest of the 20% or 30% that are still not party to it, let's get on board. So everyone who's joining us for today's session, I can see Dr. Statler is here, very welcome. We are pleased to welcome you, and for those who joined yesterday, continue to enjoy our Namibian hospitality and our beautiful Namibia. Please make sure that we planned it on purpose to finish by Friday, so that you don't go back, and because I think there's no flights on Saturday. So make sure that we do have surrounding lodges if you don't want to go too far. But it is a must, it's part of your bucket list to do either Sossusvlei, Swakopmund, or Etosha. One of those three need to be on your list. If they are not on this time, next time, please. We want to see you back in Namibia. So yesterday, we also had absolutely, my time is finished, okay, I will almost stop now. Yesterday, we had absolutely groundbreaking discussions and interactions, and the future of sustainable finance for Africa will be never the same again. I'm sure you all will agree with me that when you go out of here, you must have learned something and that you want to implement to make that impact for a better future for all of us. So we have discussed various discussions ranging from policymakers, which is our government. We had discussions on how our regulators can play an instrumental role in making the future of sustainable finance a priority and ensuring that it becomes a reality and implementable. We had discussions ranging from sustainable finance, blue ocean, nature, insurance, banking, and investment. And I think we can pride ourselves that this is one of the only sessions where we meet up as a combined, and that's why it's called the financial industry. It is, normally you will have an insurance event, you will have a banking event, but here we are all together, and I'm sure you can learn from each other. I'm very, one thing I want to mention is also, if you take the PRB, they have done quite a lot. And I think it's important for all of us to learn from them, as well as the PSI as well. But let's interact and don't reinvent the wheel. I'm very excited to see in the coming months all the African solutions we have identified and listed yesterday. So please watch the space, as you will be hearing more from the financial sector of Africa. It has been indeed African voices, and we can be sure that there will be significant developments in the sustainable space from an African perspective. For the next few days, or I say next few days, we have one more day for where we are all together. But on Friday, we have a special event focusing on the Nairobi Declaration and the ESG journey and a few other very exciting topics in terms of where we're going and how we want to see the insurance sector being developed. So please make sure that you are there. Even if you're from the banking sector, we can learn from you as well. So please join us tomorrow. We have already quite a very good attendance that have subscribed for tomorrow's event, but I just want to remind you. So what I want to conclude is to say for the next two more days that we have, we're looking forward to more discussions and deliberations on the sustainable agenda for Africa, and we look forward to put more solutions on the table. Let's get in action mode. I thank you.